Capability replaced by authorization. You can do the work, but the button is grayed out until someone signs off in a meeting, updates a checklist, and clears a notification. The cost isn't just delay, it's the quiet lesson that capability doesn't matter unless it's authorized. Power in modern systems often shows up as permissioning, the ability to gate action through approvals, access levels, and compliance steps. Permissioning is control exercised by constraints that decide which actions count as legitimate, regardless of whether you can perform them. Permissioning grows for reasons that sound responsible: reduce risk, improve consistency, prevent damage. But the mechanism is incentive-driven. The people designing rules are rewarded for avoiding visible failure more than for enabling invisible progress. The person who blocks a risky action rarely gets blamed for the value that never happened. They get credited for governance. That asymmetry is an incentive. Add a constraint. You may not deploy, purchase, publish, or even message a customer without an approval token from someone upstream. The constraint is explicit, written into software roles, ticket queues, and sign-off checklists. Once embedded, it becomes automatic. The system doesn't ask whether you are competent. It asks whether you have the right stamp. Now the trade-off. Permissions can lower catastrophic errors, but they raise coordination costs and suppress initiative. The trade-off is not theoretical. It appears as extra meetings, longer queues, and work done to satisfy a process rather than a customer. When you replace capability with authorization, you shift risk from someone might do the wrong thing to nothing meaningful happens without permission. This is where feedback loops harden the structure. A single incident creates a new step. That step creates delay. Delay creates complaints. Complaints create dashboards. Dashboards create targets. Targets create performance reviews. Performance reviews create rule following. Rule following creates more steps. The loop rewards the appearance of control. Then comes proxy drift. You cannot measure good judgment easily, so you measure something adjacent. Number of approvals, completion rate of mandatory training, percentage of tasks with documented sign-off, time to close tickets, audit pass rates. These are proxies for responsibility, not responsibility itself, and proxies invite gaming. If a team is judged on 0 exceptions, they stop recording exceptions, they relabel them. If they are judged on fast approvals, they rubber stamp requests without reading, or they pre-deny anything ambiguous to protect the metric. If they are judged on compliance completion, they build shorter trainings that are easier to click through. The proxy improves while the underlying reality drifts. Over time, permissioning becomes a form of capture. Not capture as a dramatic takeover, but as a gradient. Control accumulates around those who can grant or withhold access. Gatekeepers collect rent in the only currency the system recognizes: time, deference, documentation. This rent doesn't always look like money. It looks like waiting, rework, and the quiet reorientation of attention toward whoever can say yes. Notice the final inversion. Governance is supposed to serve the mission, but the mission becomes the excuse to expand governance. When that happens, the system trains people to optimize for authorization rather than outcomes. You stop asking, "Is this good?" and start asking, "Will this be approved?" That's not a philosophical shift, it's an operational one. The core question, who decides what you are allowed to do, becomes personal because it redirects responsibility. When permissioning dominates, responsibility migrates upward to the improver and outward to the process. People learn to treat their own judgment as provisional, their initiative as a liability, their attention as something to spend on tickets and status updates. Meaning erodes in small exchanges. Work becomes a sequence of justified actions rather than chosen commitments. Identity follows attention. If attention is captured by dashboards and approvals, then the self becomes an interface for compliance. That is a human cost, not just a productivity cost. And power becomes harder to see, precisely because it is just procedure. No one has to raise their voice. The system constrains and permits. It rewards those who protect the proxy and punishes those who bypass it. People call this alignment, but often it is merely the narrowing of what is allowed. Hold the question without rushing past it. In your week, what metric do you serve most faithfully? Tickets closed, approvals gathered, exceptions avoided, response time, audit readiness? Name it plainly. Then notice what that metric might erase from view. Care, courage, craft, honesty about uncertainty, or the willingness to own consequences. Sit with the trade-off between being capable and being permitted, and observe who benefits when authorization becomes the definition of legitimacy. When capability must ask permission to exist, power has already done its quiet work. Incentives do not care about your story.